You're watching the Weather Channel's continuing coverage as we track Lee. I'm Justin Michaels, live for you today along the Maine coast. This is Cape Elizabeth, Maine, and we are seeing some extraordinary wave activity as this storm has so much energy pushing into the United States coast, specifically here in Maine. And we can tell you with every bit of certainty, some of the waves that are crashing along here on this rocky coastline are every bit of 10, 15, and even 20 feet high, overtaking these massive rock faces that lead up to some of the homes here in Cape Elizabeth. In fact, take a look right now. Watch this. Remarkable, the power behind that water coming into Cape Elizabeth and the size of the waves coming in off of the Atlantic Ocean. And what the wind has been doing here, coming from Lee all this distance across the Atlantic and slamming into the Maine coast, is causing major power problems. In fact, take a look at some video we just shot about 1.5 miles or 2 miles from where we are right now in Cape Elizabeth. And you can see how that tree is snapped off, almost rotted and snapped off at the roots. We were talking to some of the line workers and power workers there on that road, and they were describing that this is what they're seeing all over the place, that the ground has been so saturated, the root systems are beginning to fall apart. They're rotting and falling apart, and they're not seeing the root balls come up out of the earth. They're seeing the trees snapping off and coming down on power lines. And that's what they're finding all across Cape Elizabeth. And at this point, more than 94,000 customers are without power, most of them along the Maine coast, but also going well inland. If you take a look at the power outage maps that go across Maine, most of this state has power outages somewhere. Again, most of them centered right along the coast, but they're going far inland. So it's very important to remember, if you are finding yourself in the situation where the power is out, you have one of those generators that you have had stuffed in the closet in the back of the garage for a year or so. If you're going to use that, keep it as far away from your house as possible. Use power lines and cables to get into your house. Make sure it's vented properly. Also, try not to use candles. Candles will set fires, as we well know. We talk about it every year, but it does it every single year. Flashlights, headlights if you have them. Any way you can use things that are not going to catch your home on fire is probably the best bet. And just pack your patience, because we were just talking with one of the residents here in this neighborhood in Cape Elizabeth. The power came back on for a moment, and now they're finding the power might not be fully restored since it's gone out for a second time today, Felicia, until sometime tomorrow morning. So crews are fighting against Mother Nature. Felicia, you know as well as I do that is not something we ever win at doing, fighting against Mother Nature. And right now it's just a waiting game until the winds die down enough that it's safe to get the power turned back on. And we know crews are going to be working around the clock until they do that. Felicia, for now, back into you.
Justin, I just want to say that 68 and windy, there are a lot of people who would call it chilly.
Felicia?
I know. Justin, thanks so much for that report.
Yeah. Love you.
I mean, the good news is, at least if your power is out, it's not like when your power is out and it's 100 degrees in Florida. If your power is out, at least it's mild outside. Let's talk about tropics across the rest of the tropical season, because we are far from done here.